A sermon from Prophet Michael, Godless Addiction and the Meaning of Life. I see so many people who don't believe in God and Jesus living for this world. They think they only have this one life before nothingness. They believe everything is godless and therefore relative. They live moment by moment for themselves, living with the dread of death. They think, whatever I do, I'm going to die. To a regular godless person, this sends a death rattle through their soul and shivers down their spine. Their life is filled with meaningless activities. They take incessant photos of their lives thinking that it will be their only legacy. Their belief is that when everyone dies who's remembered them, their life will become as meaningless as a toothpick. They live in a life full of fear, trying to fill themselves with pleasures while they can. Their lives are centered around themselves and what gives them pleasure. This is a very subjective thing because one man's form of pleasure may be centered around their family, while others may center their lives around physical pleasures. And if they believe all things are relative, they may devalue others' lives and use them for their own gratifications. This is how rapists and serial killers begin. They get their first hit of dopamine in their brains when they do something they find pleasurable, but then each time they go back, like a drug addict, it doesn't hit them as hard. They try to get their next hit from something stronger, or whatever they're doing, but it inevitably becomes less gratifying the more they do it. Either they become this super upbeat person who's hiding the feelings of death inside them, or they become a total perversion of nature. Either way, they've all come to reside under God's curse of endless consumption with less and less satisfaction because they're not living for the right reasons. Many people try to fill this void with food, but it only makes them fatter, and even more morally destitute with even worse health problems. Others believe that the more thrills, the more adrenaline, the better, until it kills them. Many people center their lives around lusts of the flesh, but it destroys their lives and all those whom they devour in their wake. Some people think that money is the answer. They get so much of it, it makes them believe everything has no value. Thus, everything is disposable to them, even people. However, with God, we find the meaning of life. I have faith that when people put God, the one true God whose Son is Jesus, in the center of their lives, everything else falls into place and there's no more need for excess, frivolous wants. Just the simple fulfillment of one's simple needs to be just satisfactory enough to not impede upon others. I'll tell you what I believe the meaning of life is: to love God before others with all your might and to love others just like you love God. The meaning to life is love. They've replaced love with meaningless things which lose purpose without the main thing which gives them any value, which is love. And by love, I mean to love God and others as you love God, because God's Spirit also resides inside them and even other sentient animals. I'm not speaking about meaningless love, such as only taking care of people's physical needs without actually having any interest in them. This is the perversion of love Satan has replaced God's agape love with. There's many children who have parents who think loving their kid is only to take care of their needs, not show any interest in their own unique personalities, and standing beside their own individual interests which may vary from their own. These parents usually demand reciprocation just because they feed them. These parents usually have their child move out once old enough, and they barely ever contact their parents again. These kind of parents have been led to believe that having children and enjoying life while we have it here on earth is the meaning of life. They believe their kids are the meaning or legacy to their lives instead of the God who stitched them together in their wombs and breathed life into them with a part of his limitless spirit. These parents have placed kids upon an altar and formed them into an idol before God. They believe they were obligated by God and society to procreate, that it was their service to God and that they paid it. However, it's Satan's doctrine of blind procreation out of the expectations from the world and society which has perpetuated such a tradition. I'm not saying this devalues any lives because God values each life upon their conception in the womb. I'm only saying that the devil has twisted everyone's priorities away from God. Our service is to service God before our lives, our kids, or work. And in doing so, God allows us to service the aforementioned things which come after. You see, love without empathy and compassion or interest is just a service to one's physical needs, not their spiritual or mental needs. No one can truly understand what love is until they come to understand the agape love which comes from God, and that's not just sacrificing everything for others, but because God is everyone's number one fan. After all, He made you. He's always silently rooting for you in these shadows of the valley of death which the kingdom of darkness has created, which has separated us from God with our sin nature from physical birth. But once you accept His Son and are reborn spiritually, He can finally move in your life and provide for you. Once you accept God on His own terms, He will call you His child, and you will walk with Him forevermore. God bless all you brothers and sisters. I'll see you soon in heaven.